And this is Ken Kreitzer for Talking Business and the Marketing Club of New York. Glad to recognize the honorees of our upcoming Silver Apple Gala that will be on November 7th, and it will be in New York City at the Hard Rock Cafe right in Times Square. And an exciting event. And I have a chance to talk today with one of the honorees, very well known, a leader in the field, and that is Lou Mastria, who is the president of the Digital Advertising Alliance. Lou, good to see you today. How you doing?
I'm great, Ken. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks to the Marketing Club of New York for this really amazing honor.
Well, you've had a terrific career. A lot of us met you when you were at the Direct Marketing Association, and now leading the Digital Advertising Alliance, helping with self-regulation and giving consumers a chance to withdraw from advertising that might not fit their interests. Maybe tell us a little bit about the Digital Advertising Alliance.
Sure. It has been an amazing opportunity and a great honor to be entrusted with running this self-regulatory program here in the U.S. This was founded by the largest trade associations representing advertising here in the U.S. And it was in response directly to some challenges that were happening at the time in terms of personalized advertising and some discomfort that the government and other stakeholders were having about that. And it was really an opportunity. It was turned into an opportunity by those trade associations to address those concerns head on by standing up a program that in real time was able to communicate with consumers about what's going on, that personalized advertising was happening on their screens, and that they could do something about it again in real time. Prior to us being around, that never could happen, was happening. Some companies were doing it inside the four corners of their own organizations, but you couldn't do it across the ecosystem. And that's where DAA really shined and really brought something novel to the privacy and consumer engagement landscape. I would say too, while I think technically, those are important elements of what we brought to the market. One of the other things that we brought to the market was that it's important to have independent accountability around these principles. And so I think, oftentimes the idea of self-regulation is conflated. It could mean many things. It could mean, what a company does inside its own four walls. It could mean, sometimes like peer review kind of things. We don't have that. We actually have independent agents that go out and knock on doors and, we expect this. Why do we see that? And then there's kind of, how do we bring companies into compliance? And if we can't bring them into compliance, then we turn them over to the appropriate authorities. Something, thankfully, we've only had to do uh, very few times. Most companies do want to do the right thing by their consumers and by the principals. So it's been a long journey. We've been able to grow the organization very much since we first started. All of that has been possible because of the trade association backing that we have and the hundreds of companies who have voluntarily submitted to the high ethical standards that the DA puts in place.
Very good. And you work and your organization and the organizations you work with on promoting consumer privacy. And the recent history seems to be the European Union develops privacy legislation, puts it into effect. The state of California tends to be a leader in the United States. Other states may follow, but it's been very hard to get Congress to come up with a uniform privacy bill. Um, and certainly, a lot of unknowns going into perhaps a new administration coming up next year. What do you see happening on the privacy front and the legislative fronts in the United States?
So I think it's absolutely true that we need a comprehensive federal privacy regime. We can't have a patchwork of state privacy laws. It's hard to manage for companies, hard to manage for consumers. You don't know where, if you take a plane somewhere, what the heck, you have some sort of new law applied to you. What we've seen is, in the case of an attempt a couple years ago and an attempt this year to bring forth privacy laws, is that in both cases, we are seeing attempts that, uh, in some cases, don't understand how the ecosystem works. But importantly, too, those attempts have also recognized that there is and could be a role for some sort of code of conduct at the industry level. And DAA is really well suited to be that code of conduct. We have, more than a decade's worth of experience of independent accountability. We have more than a decade's experience of delivering the kinds of solutions that consumers can use and do use to express these preferences. And we're not stopping there. We just this year have rolled out a set of new tools to be able to deal with consumer preferences, not just at the browser level, which I think is kind of a traditional way to think about DAA, but also to be able to do that on other devices. And we also put out guidance for how companies can deal with that on things like connected televisions, which is a growing area of advertising investment. And so we want to make sure that we protect that media, in part by doing the right thing by the consumer. And doing the right thing by the consumer is making sure that he or she knows that if there's data being used to personalize advertising in connected television experiences, that he or she does have a voice in that. And we want to make sure that that happens. So I do think that we are continuing to move toward a federal privacy bill, a federal privacy law. Whether it happens this year, next year, or next Congress, I think is TBD. But I think the push to get us there is gaining momentum because there is an understanding that this cannot be done on a patchwork quilt basis. This really does have to be done holistically.
Well, appreciate your insight on what's happening on privacy and all the efforts that your organization, the Digital Advertising Alliance, does provide options to consumers. And tell us a little bit about your career, Data Logic, and an organization a number of us were very familiar with, participated with, the Direct Marketing Association.
Thanks for asking that. It brings a great smile to my face. Back in the 80s, I was in high school, and my high school was lucky enough to have a bunch of Apple computers set aside for a computer club. The rule was that you were allowed to do anything you wanted with these computers, except play games on them. An entrepreneuring friend of mine and myself decided that, well, if we write games and test games, that would not be against the rules. And so that's what we did. We started doing that then. And not that that's particularly important, but one of the things that came out of that was we were writing a video game that kind of approximates kind of a Star Wars-y game. And it was my very first interaction with a computer where I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's a privacy issue here. I mean, I didn't think of the word privacy, but I knew that there was something there about the video game interacting with the user that was a challenge. And the challenge was, if I tell the computer to shoot at the you know spaceship that we had created, well, the computer will always know where the spaceship is, and it will always hit it. And so, how do you stop the computer from knowing, you know, or give it, And so we really had to deal with privacy, this 1983 too, um, at that time. And fast forward, to 1998, 9, when this client rolls into our agency, and they ask for someone who knows something about computers. And I raise my hand and I say, hey, I had this experience. And they're like, you're it. You get the Direct Marketing Association. They have something to do with sales taxes online and privacy online. It's yours. You're going to have to deal with this. And I soon met some people that would change my life, and changed, I think, the trajectory for so many businesses that we think of today. It was such a great experience that I ultimately left my consulting job and went to work directly for DMA for about 6, 7 years after that. And it was a day in and day out, um, a real pleasure to work with not just companies who would talk about privacy, talk about ethics, talk about self-regulation, but actually put it into action. There were committee meetings that would um, go on for hours and days, fact findings, the the real hard work of rolling up your sleeves and doing the things that were important for not just the community, but for the consumers that would be their customers. It was a seminal time for the industry and for myself, as I learned to appreciate just how to do privacy in a way that not only serves consumers, but serves the companies that they want to engage with too.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about the Direct Marketing Association. Early in my career, a fellow named Herb Dunhill ran a direct marketing company in Westchester. I was newly hired. He said, Ken, you're going out to the DMA conference next week in Chicago. So I did. I never forget going down the escalator at the Hyatt Hotel in Chicago to the big trade show there and seeing this huge number of companies. I mean, back then it was like letter shop equipment all
Mhm.
over the show floor and seeing what a big business. And I realized it was a great opportunity. My friend and mentor Herb Dunhill mentioned it got me involved with. So I always enjoyed that. And you mentioned Bob Wenson, who was a fellow Providence College grad, and helped us with we're very start of the new business school at Providence College. That he was came to a couple of meetings we had down in New York on that about 25 years ago. So feel the same way about the DMA that you do and the great people who were involved. Hey, tell us. I got to ask you about you're a Rutgers grad. Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, Listen, it's a great school. If you're thinking of applying, you should. I actually have a son who's applying there in a couple of weeks. Um, um, I found Rutgers to be a place where you could learn not just the theory, but the practice of what you were doing, what you were passionate about. At the time that I was going to school and grad school, college and grad school, I really needed a lot more direction, a lot more, how do you turn theory into practice? I needed to learn that, and I needed to learn it that way. And Rutgers really was an exceptional school when it came to that. I think of many professors who helped me along the way. One who passed, unfortunately, a little too early, Henry Raimondo, who was a terrific mentor and helped me see the world in a way that just ultimately changed my life, changed the way that I pursue professional initiatives. He helped me to see it as, hey, there's this economics that's running underneath it. You may not realize it, but here's how it works. And having that kind of approach, practical approach in a school that size that gives you that many opportunities, that much variance was astounding for me.
Well, you mentioned your son. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, no, so I will say, I feel like in many ways, I feel like I had clients who became friends and then who became family. And I have the pleasure of working with those people day in and day out, still all these many years later, and that is a blessing. Um, but at home, I have my heart. I have the people who you do this for, um, and who you hope you're making proud every day, and you hope that, I have two kids. You hope that you're giving them um, a model that they can emulate, and that you'd be proud that they would emulate. And um, I've been blessed to have a wife who is more than a wife, a partner, a friend, uh, one of the smartest, bravest women I've ever met in my life. Uh, my wife marries not only is she a psychotherapist with a PhD from NYU, she teaches there. She is an amazing human being. Um, just been through thick and thin with her, including when I took that job at DMA, I actually had to take a sizable pay cut to do that, and she stood by me. She said, "Hey, look, if you feel like this is something that's important to you, um, go for it." That not everyone can do that. She was there for that. She was there for that a couple of times through my career. And then my kids, um, Olivia just graduated from University of Vermont. She's working down in DC, and so I can't be prouder of her trailblazing her way through that. She's been an amazing uh, it's been amazing to watch her turn into a young adult, and to see her um, adulting right now, to see how she accepts challenges and moves forward, tries to learn from her mistakes. Those things are not small. And then my son Max, who is a senior in high school, he is not not all senior high school boys tend to be sweet. He's a sweet kid, and he's a smart kid. Um, and and in addition to all that, he is kind-hearted enough to agree to watch some TV with dad and mom, allow dad to play tennis with him when dad wants to get out. Um, that's not easy. And he's what he will achieve, he doesn't even know yet. He's that kind of kid because he's got kind of a he's he's got a quiet confidence, and so the his his bravado doesn't take advantage of him. And at 17, often, and I say this as a former 17-year-old, sometimes your bravado gets ahead of you. And he's special in that way, being able to know who he really is and what really matters. And for all those reasons, I start my day with a prayer that says that I'm thankful for my family, and I am, and I proudly, undeniably am. They make me a better person,
Well,
and
that's great to hear about your
I
wife and
hope I
children.
return the favor.
Wow, so nice to hear that. And again, Lou Mastria, you're going to be honored with a 2024 Silver Apple Award from the Marketing Club of New York, a 98-year-old marketing trade organization. Some of the great names in New York marketing and advertising and communication and data management have been honored in the past, and we're going to look forward to seeing you. Uh, Lou, do you have any final thought for us today?
I, I just want to say thank you again to Marketing Club of New York for honoring me with this. Um, I feel humbled. Um, as you know, Ken, I've known MCNY even in its earlier iteration, so I've been around the block a few times. Um, and uh, I'm old enough to know what it means to be honored by this organization and some of the people who've come before. You mentioned Bob, Jonah Gitlitz,
I
who
knew
was the
Jonah.
head. Yeah. Uh, other people like that, Liz Kislik and others who have been named by this organization in the past, um, to stand aside them uh, is truly humbling for me. I feel like I try to do my best day in and day out, and hopefully um, make the market a little bit better for the companies and the consumers who engage with. Um, but to be able to say that I won the same award as some of these people, it really does take the breath out of me a little bit. So thank you, Marketing Club of New York.
Well, very well deserved, Lou Master. Great to talk with you today. A pleasure. I've been working with Chet Dalzell for quite a number of years. You're one of your key staffers at the Digital Advertising Alliance, which you're the CEO. And we have a lot of common friends from the Direct Marketing Association days. And we're going to look forward to seeing you on November 7th as you receive a 2024 Silver Apple Award to our 40th edition of these awards. And so glad you're going to be receiving one this year.
I appreciate it, Ken. And I probably forgot to mention, but there are so many folks who are more recent award winners who are just fantastic in their fields. This year, Bob Leodis, Catherine Ferrara, Paul McDonough, people I know who are receiving the award, who have been partners, friends, more than partners to me, in terms of being able to operate in this space. More recently, Marla Kaplowitz, Allison Pepper, who've won the awards in the past couple of years. Oh my God. Uh, just really a who's who, and the marketing club should be proud to have names like that associated with its award.
Well, we're glad you're going to be added to the list. Lou Mastria, CEO of the Digital Advertising Alliance, will receive a 2024 Silver Apple Award at our gala dinner on November 7th at the Hard Rock Cafe. Looking forward to that. We'll look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Marketing Club.
Hey, good to talk with you today. It's Ken Kreitzer for Talking Business and the Marketing Club of New York. Thanks for watching.